finally post All-Star break, and even though technically we are more than halfway through the regular season games played, this does mark a big part for our pool. We got to make the one move we get to make all year. That is all behind us, so I figure now is a perfect time to chime in with a post All-Star wrap-up. Where are the teams at? Where are our teams at? And what are we looking at moving forward? So let's get right to it. Last time I flipped the script just a little bit, I started from the bottom and I went to the top. I'm going back to basics. We're going to start off with the top because I made a slight tweak to my Mount Rushmore. I figure since I made the rules, I can break the rules. I wanted 2 in the East, 2 in the West to have some balance and maybe see if I can predict who's going to play in East of the Finals. I will get back to that, I imagine, as we get closer to the end. But right now, to be honest, in my opinion, 4 of the 5 best teams playing, and again, I can't say this heavily enough, right now, maybe not later. 4 of the 5 are in the West. So the Celtics are the only one in the East, I think, that deserve to be on the Mount right now. I think they're walking away with things. I think, again, we're going to keep saying, and I think it's just health, knock on wood. We know that's a thing, especially someone like, they have a few people there that I think are quite pivotal. But as of right now, I will justify this in a couple tiers time when I get to the Eastern people that you might have assumed one of them was going to pop up here. But really, if you look at the West, and like I said, 4 of the 5 teams there, this is less about who's in and more which one did I leave out. If you've been paying attention the last couple weeks, you probably know me enough to know which one I'm leaving out. The Nuggets, again, unless Joker goes down or anything crazy happens, they're going to be in this for the rest of the year because I think to be the man, you got to beat the man, as I started from the beginning. And I am putting in the 2 teams that are currently atop the division in the Timberwolves and the Thunder, so you know who I'm leaving out and you know who gets their own tier next. But realistically, because these are not only just the teams that are playing well right now, but also teams that are built for the future. Now, I think the Timberwolves are a little bit more game ready in terms of they seem more combat ready. They're a bigger team, a physical team. The Thunder, maybe you saw this coming. I think we all kind of saw it coming eventually. I'll be honest, this is kind of what I thought the Thunder was going to do next year, but obviously they're ahead of schedule, or I think Shea would agree they're right on schedule. I can't argue because SGA is doing wonders for me, and he's definitely looking like he's making that leap. We'll get to him a little bit more later, but they're fun to watch. They're tough teams. They're matchup problems for almost everybody. I am a little bit worried about the Thunder's youth going into the postseason, just because obviously I hate saying because they haven't done it before that they can't do it, because obviously that's not true. But that's one kind of caution. When it comes down to the Nuggets, it seems like whenever they're challenged, they step up. As Rennie pointed out on the chat group, Joker just decided to come out of the All-Star break. He clearly did not take the All-Star break seriously whatsoever, which I will get to again at the end with my 2 cents. But he definitely came out of the gates ready to go and make a statement. So as far as I'm concerned, these are our top tier. As Mindy Kaling once said, why not me? Sorry, Clippers, I don't mean to hate on you. Maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe there's some pent-up Harden anxiety I have. Paul George, I always thought I liked. Kawhi won us a title in Toronto. I don't think I have anything against them, but I must, because I just don't buy. I do not, like, let's be honest, if they won the West, it's not like I would be shocked. And I don't think of these teams, if there is not an upset, and I say that with a caveat, and then these end up being the top 4 in the West, I don't think anyone really wants the Clippers just because they can in a 4-game stretch. They have some of that veteran leadership. They have at least someone who's done it before. I would assume if you're the Nuggets especially, I think it's an odd matchup. But I mean, the other 2 being young, maybe it doesn't matter who they play. Anyway, I think the Clippers do deserve their own tier. I'm not saying that they are not. In some ways, I could see the argument how they could even be argued to be the best in the West. I just don't trust them. I think right now they're playing everybody a lot. That's great. Things are great. I'm still waiting for the other shoe to fall. I'd not say by fall, I mean they're just going to go off the end of the earth. But let's be honest, of the top 4 I just said, if one of them was going to get upset in the first round, wouldn't you have picked the Clippers too? Escape from New York, aka the East. This is where I'm piling in all of the teams from the East that are really essentially making the playoffs, or at least making it in a way that I will explain later. effectively, you could cut this off at 500. I didn't mean to do this just by stats. I do have my own measure of doing that, but effectively, I put everybody that's above 500 in this pool. Orlando, Indiana, Miami, Philadelphia, the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Bucks. Now, if you are a Cavs or Knicks fan, you're questioning. You had a great last month. You're on a roll. Cavs especially have been doing it with injuries and technically their best players being out, and yet them actually playing better without their best players. I see that as a problem, though, because then obviously when they come back, you're put in a weird spot. I think right now, as of time of recording, they are technically the second seed in the East, which is a bit odd, I think. Now, Milwaukee's only a game behind, and we'll get to them in just a second. But I think the Cavs and the Knicks both have the same kind of premise. And if we look at just something I found, it's nice to find a few treasures online. Twitter's not exactly a great place to get anything, but just as the screenshot suggests, if you're looking at teams when they play tough teams, both Cleveland and New York suck. They just pile on teams that are beneath them, which means if they get a good first round matchup, they're probably okay, especially considering who is likely to make the playoffs. However, if they're a 2 or a 3, that means at some point in time, they're going to have to cross with maybe the 76ers, maybe Embiid's back. The Bucks, obviously, at some point in time has to come around. Maybe they bump into a team like the Heat that's a little more battle ready. Again, the fan bases, I don't trust anyone in New York. Every time they do anything, they think they're amazing. I don't necessarily think that they are above this tier. I think they're just, the East is super kind of mediocre, except for the top tier, which is just one. And even if we look at how people are doing against 500 rosters, a lot of the pretender teams are around. Now, Milwaukee has a decent record, but a lot of the teams in the West that I'm nervous about, they're not doing it either. So I guess you can probably say, group these all together, and that's probably why I feel this way. When it comes to the 76ers, obviously it's Embiid. When you come to Miami, again, it's the gel. The Bucks, if their coach stops blaming everybody else, I actually think that this could be, and I would think will rise eventually and have a good run. I would feel good about having the Bucks if I were you. Indiana and Orlando, again, they're still kind of playing with house money. They were supposed to be fast and loose and a fun team. They're still super fun to watch. So will they make a run? I know they had some trade value and they got some reinforcements. So let's see how it goes. But for me, this could have been Escape from New York, might as well have been Mad Max, the Thunderdome. I think this one is going to be so hard to predict, and I would expect there could be a ton of upsets come playoff time. I'm not just doing this for time, and you should thank me that I am trying to do something for time, because obviously these go a bit long, but I'm piling a lot of the Western teams in a similar pile because I do think that the top 4 are going to be the top 4, but there's a couple teams that could make a run. Now, of these teams, I piled in all of these that are meant to be playoff teams as of right now, because I actually think they are going to end up being the playoff teams. That's the Mavs, that's the Kings, that's the Pelicans, that's the Suns, that's the Lakers and the Warriors. I know I've highlighted those two a lot on their own in the last couple videos. To be honest, I think, at this point, the Lakers are the low point, well, tied with the Warriors. Again, time of recording, this is the 28th of February. I'll try and have it out tonight, but I always say that. They got a 4-game lead on Utah at the 11th spot, so Utah can certainly catch up, and these don't necessarily need to be the playoff teams. I actually just think they will. I just think the order is going to be a little jumbled. I don't necessarily trust the Suns right now. I think they're going through something. Same with the Pelicans. The Mavs are the Mavs, and the Kings seem to be battling back a little bit, but I mean, the biggest thing for this is just their defense. A lot of these teams can't stop the ball consistently. So when that happens, they really need all offensive weapons firing. So I think these are your playoff teams in the West. I think a couple of them, if they get their crap together, could make a run in the playoffs. I also wouldn't be shocked if the top 4 I have in the West end up meeting in the Western semis. But you know what? Let's save those predictions till later. Do these teams even care about seeding? We don't really know. They all need to stay healthy. That is not a question. But do they actually want to make a push? Do they want to risk reward? I mean, the other question, did they really try and get LeBron? That seems like too perfect that both Lakers and Warriors would have wanted that leaked, that the Warriors were trying to make a run, that the Lakers were serious enough with LeBron. I don't know how much that goes on. Would have been crazy. Didn't happen at the trade deadline. Either way, I think these are our Western playoff teams. We'll see as the postseason gets closer and closer if any of these teams stand out. if we're not going to make it, it's got to be you that gets out, because I'm not capable. I'm fluffing Irish. I'll deal with something being wrong for the rest of my life. One of my favorite quotes from Departed. Now, Rennie knows why. I've been watching a lot of Scorsese in the last little bit. There might be a podcast opportunity upcoming in a few days. But for this, love this quote, love this idea. And for me, this is the Hawks and the Bulls. So similar to what I just did in the West. Now, I did highlight these two teams, but these, as of right now, are the 9 and 10 seeds. So they would technically get into the play-in playoff rounds. And actually, exactly similar to the West, it's a 4-game gap between Atlanta right now, who's in 10, and Brooklyn, who's in 11. The Trae Young injury is a wrinkle in this. Now, if Brooklyn or Toronto really push, Atlanta could definitely lose it. I actually think that they've played okay without Young enough, and they have enough weapons that they can hang on to this spot. Because let's also be honest, it's a .448 winning percentage. They have to be above 400 right now to make the playoffs in the East. That's not exactly outstanding, but they didn't really do anything. And so it's one of those catch in between. And I think just clearly, while the East is wide open, these would be the two teams that I don't think do anything. I think if two teams get left out and two teams do get left out of the play-ins, I think you're looking right now at these two. Unless Young comes back and Trae can make a run, or something happens with Orlando or Indiana, there's a bit of a choke situation, or if I'm really right about the Cavs and something crazy happens, I don't see it. I do think these will be the two left out of the technical postseason. They'll get me a point, though, hopefully, if they make it. They're just in this forever. They're not making a decision. They're not getting any better, and they're not getting any worse. Love this Audrey quote. I don't want to be alone. I want to be left alone. And similar, just kind of flip the script. When I talk about the teams that just made it, everyone actually seems quite content. Now, clearly something's going to go on, because there's no way that the top 10 right now stay the top 10. But like I said, in both cases, there's at least a 4-game cushion. In some cases, it's even more. But for these particular teams, because it's not everyone who's not making the playoffs, the Jazz, the Rockets, the Raptors, the Grizzlies, the Nets, and the Hornets. Now, I think in this particular case, they're all in the same vein where, for different reasons, they're happy with being in the lottery. Now, they're not going to go super high. And like I said, right now, the draft isn't getting a lot of buzz, but at least they get some mobility. They can move some assets. If you're a team like the Rockets, this actually went really, really well. You had that point where you were in the playoffs. You were a little young. This was a year ahead. A lot of momentum, new coach for next year and all that. Well, this year, but leading into next year, you get a good pick. You make some adjustments. Your young players get older. Maybe something happens there. I think the Grizzlies and the Hornets, that had the kind of injury concerns, and they've had some issues there. So obviously they have some momentum. The Nets is a really tough one. Do they care? I mean, they're the only team right now that I know of that got fined for benching too many. The Jazz is the surprising one. The last list, they actually looked like they were going to maybe make a bit of a push. I think they're still trying. It's just the West is a lot harder. But they have some positives. They have some people they obviously wanted to invest in. I've left the Raptors out because they, honest to God, do not know what they're doing. Shea and Chainer, I don't know what the Toronto media is saying, but I mean, obviously they wanted to retool in the sense they got rid of Siakam and OG, essentially gutting the rest of the team that was part of the championship roster. It's Scotty Barnes' team, but Scotty Barnes is a B or a 1B at best. He's certainly not an alpha, I don't think. He's not going to be the best guy on a team that wins a championship, I don't think. I think he's going to be a really, really good player and an all-star. Obviously, the coach thinks he's going to be amazing and a face of the league, but, you know, it's like the same situation that, you know, they were in before, where they're building this supporting cast. And I don't know if they just think someone's coming. Do they know something? They didn't really get markedly better, but they definitely got a bit worse, but not enough worse. So I don't know. I kind of feel like all these groups, they just kind of want to be left alone, do their own thing, wait and see how the draft pans out, and see if one of the, you know, lottery balls can kind of tune in for them and see if they can cash in again on a draft that might not be worth it. So maybe some trades in the offseason. I don't know. The problem we're trying to solve is that there's rich teams and there's poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. I put this down here, and you might think it's harsh, 2 for each, but for a reason. Now, the Spurs are the worst in the West, but Portland hasn't won in February. So let's just say there's a chance that Portland is on the slide down. San Antonio, for Wemby-related reasons, they win every once in a while. They get in. He's super competitive. Honestly, if they just got him a point guard, they'd probably just win 3 in a row no matter who they're playing. But right now, I think they stand out as the clear bottom of the West. In the East, never wrong, sometimes early. I said this at the draft. The Wizards were the team I was not going to touch. I thought they would be the worst, and then Detroit went ahead and lost for a full month. Check your standings, folks. If you haven't been paying attention, they're both tied. 9 wins each, 49 losses each as of time of recording. Washington might be making a pull for it. That's going to come up later when we talk about our particular draft results. So I think they've made it very, very clear that the two of them are really racing for the bottom. The Pistons are still competitive. And actually, if you watched them recently, and I kind of had to for something else, at least part of it, they're trying hard and they're not playing horrible. If I'm in a bet right now on worst in the league, I'm putting my money on Washington to eventually pass them to Detroit to get past their bad month. Spurs and Trailblazers, not sure which, but definitely I think we're looking at our bottom four here. Might seem odd to update the teams first because obviously there's no update really to be had in terms of points, but I just wanted to kind of get an overview since it was the All-Star break and take a look at where we're at. Each of us kind of have our pros and our cons here. If I'm just looking objectively, like looking at my team, I have a decent floor, but not a good ceiling. I really need the Warriors or Lakers to do something in the very difficult West. As of right now, the Bulls, Pacers, and Hawks, one of those teams, maybe two, actually might make the top 8 and get me a couple points. But I got the benefit that I kind of dominated the play-in tournament, so I should balance out okay. Horst, it's kind of a funny one here. I mentioned the Trailblazers. You are probably not cheering for them to keep falling. If they hold, you've got at least 3 of your 6 in, with a team like the Knicks with punching power and hoping the Suns and Pelicans to do a little something. I'm going to go to Rennie first because I think Rennie's got one of the more well-rounded. Not only do you have the best in the East, technically right now you have the top 2 in the East. You also have top in the West because they're tied in the Timberwolves. You only have one team in the tank here, and that's the Hornets. And knock on wood, right now, I would be shocked if they drop all the way to the bottom. So I don't think you're on a huge risk of losing any points. And the Magic in the East, I actually think you have a really good option here because not only do you have the best team in the East, you've got a couple teams that, I really do think the East is going to be a crapshoot, or could be, depending on injuries and health. You got some teams that could get to the next couple rounds once something happens. You never know. So a good spot there. Shea, I think you got the nice bit of having the Nuggets. I think the Thunder, obviously. So you've got the 2, what I consider the top teams, and actually 3 if you throw in the Clippers. You're probably so mad at me. I keep saying the Clippers. You were begrudgingly going to take them. You essentially just kind of took them out, and then now they might. You got 3 teams that legitimately could win the West. Kings, I don't have them as a West leader, but I think they could be good enough to maybe upset one of those top 4. The big problem you're looking at, my friend, and you think you see at the bottom, right now you got the Spurs as a negative, and the Wizards are my bet to be the negative. Now, on the plus side, I actually do think the Spurs might win a little bit, so you might lose one of your 2. I know Horst is cheering against that, but let's see how it goes. Chainer, you are a funny one here, because obviously your Nets and your Raptors aren't really helping you out, but you have 3 teams in the East that, aside from Boston, are probably still considered the scariest, because if they're healthy and if they're playing well together and they can bring it all together, one of these teams making the Eastern Final, 2 of these teams, if they update or upset Boston, very much in play. So you're kind of banking on that, and you are desperately hoping that the Pistons keep on chugging so you can get a few points out of it. So that's where we're sitting on our teams. I won't update them until we get close to playoff time again. But now looking at our players, so congratulations, 1 to Chainer and then 1 to Shea. Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker were the players of the month for January, so you got your points there. And kind of going through just our updates and how our teams went. So Horst, you decided not to make an update. I know I got some questions with Malik Monk. That's because technically he's it's the 6th man award. If I'm punching for awards, and obviously I shouldn't have been doing this. That's why I had Reeves, Paul. I was going for awards. I was trying something, but Malik Monk right now is statistically and odds wise in line for the 6th man, but that's like the hardest one to predict. Horst, you stuck with yours. The only person I would consider, Bam Adebayo. He's great and he could be awesome, but he is one of those players that if he misses a few more games, he gets deleted from our existence. But you do have Joker, who is on pace right now. Might be a tighter MVP race as we go in. If he keeps playing like he did at the All-Star break, we're looking at an MVP there. And obviously people in Durant, LeBron are always going to be considered. If you look at CBS, they actually have their prediction for the top 15. So essentially the the 1, 2, and 3 for all NBA. And if Bam actually qualifies, I would imagine defensive all NBA, he's got a decent crack at. Rennie, you got to be feeling pretty good. I mean, especially Sabonis. What a massive pick. He is currently the leader in rebounds, 13.2, ahead of who's got him here? I'm looking down. Chainer's Gobert at 12.7, and then actually Joker and AD at 12.3. So that's a little bit of a tighter one, but he's there. He's actually the 5th also in assists in Sabonis. So is that going to be good enough to get him into one of the All NBA teams? The CBS poll does think so. Same with Kawhi. Lillard is up and down, but has a shot. Also has a shot at Clutch Award. Davis and Luka they have as first or second All NBA. Butler is always in the mix, so you got to be pretty happy in general. And then you took Jalen Brunson, who right now CBS had as the second team All NBA. So great pickup there. Shea, you went with Harden. I mean, if you're going to be a Clipper, you might as well go all in, and fair enough. I don't know if stats-wise he's going to get you something, but if he keeps playing, he's got a shot at first, second, or third team. I wouldn't say first team, but maybe third team All NBA. You've got some people in like Ant-Man who's up there, Devin Booker, Curry, he's getting some, and Curry actually as well is currently, again, the awards, you can't, I'm only going odds because it goes by vote, but he is currently the odds-on favorite by FanDuel to win the Clutch Award for whatever that means. Chainer, we all know why you got gutted. That sucks for Embiid. He was looking pretty good, and I just learned that NBA does qualify not just awards, but all stats. So if he's out, he's not getting any points, and that honks because he was definitely going to get you some. On the plus side, you got the Tatum committee, who's definitely cheering for himself to win MVP, saying you should take the best player on the best team, and that's me. Fair enough. I thought that was the finals MVP, but Tatum disagrees, and there you are. Right now, though, CBS had him, had Mitchell, Brown was on the cusp, had Fox, and definitely had Gobert as all NBA potential, so you got a ton of points. Maxey as well is right on the cusp. Maxey's also currently the leader on FanDuel for most improved, which is quite nice, obviously. Now, if you're looking at that MVP race, the other people in the race, it's Luka, it's the Joker, who is the favorite, and then Giannis and SGA that are getting up there, so I'm happy with those two. Right now for rookie, it is Wembanyama, not only rookie of the year, but he's currently got blocks, and actually he's getting some commentary. Should he be? He won't be a first, second, or third team All-NBA, but defensive first or second team, I wouldn't be shocked. If OG Anunoby can come back, maybe he gives it a run for rounding out some of those teams, because remember, they're not positional. I guess the only other thing to maybe throw out that I haven't mentioned, assists, it's Halliburton. Trey, who I have, is second. Trey's out. I don't know if you've heard, for a couple weeks. He is likely not going to qualify for any stats or awards. And Luka is currently third, would bump up to second in assists, with Joker and Sabonis right behind. So, and defensive player of the year, I didn't mention that. Actually, right now, Gobert is the heavy favorite, with weirdly Jared Allen, who no one has, in second. And like I said, Wemby is actually currently third in FanDuel, but I think that's just because they want people betting. So that's where we sit right now. We'll see after next year or next month's player of the month how things shift. Injuries are obviously going to come in, but it doesn't look like anyone's jumping ahead, but certainly some people are going to want to be paying attention over the next month or so. For my 2 cents, there's a lot of basketball stuff to talk about, but since this is the post-All-Star break episode, I thought I'd talk about the All-Star game. Now, only one little caveat that's not super All-Star that reaches back to something I talked about before. I was a little bit off-put that just they put Draymond on the mic and got him just like cutting the crap out of Barkley and everything, and just kind of gave him agency to say and do what he wants. And I guess that's good in a way, but like I said when he went out, he was playing the mental health card, and I'm sure anyone... It's like this thing now that we've set up that anyone that acts irrationally clearly has mental health issues, and that might very well be true. But I kind of feel like he played that card, and he just wanted people to back off, and even some players, Nurkic, I believe, spoke up. Originally, he was like, this guy needs help, and now he's like, he hasn't learned anything. Of course he hasn't. I don't think it was he is who he is, and he always has been, and he is really looking to make money afterwards. I think there was some negative press about some of the stuff he did, and he had to back away. He said he got work. He's no different. He's the exact same guy. So you gave him the microphone in NBA, so you can't complain later when he starts choking people out in the playoffs again. That's just what he does. All right. Whether he's going to punch LeBron in the nards again, who knows? But he certainly has not changed. And I don't think he actually wants to. That's not struggling with mental health. That's just playing the way he wants to play. my 2 cents, and I don't want to crap on mental health. But let's get to the All-Star game because it sucked. Now, granted, I will be honest, I did not watch the All-Star game. I never watched the All-Star game. I'll watch some of the skills sometimes, the dunk competition. Every year we say it's horrible. It's only good once every like 13 or 14 years, right? Like we had like MJ Dominique and then it's crap for a while, and then Vince Carter was amazing. Like the dunk competition was fine. McGrady put up a bit of a fight, and I think Steve Francis was in there somewhere, but it was Carter, and everyone knew it was Carter from the start. Then it would have been another 10, 15 years, and there's a decent one, I think, in 2016, I think, roughly. But that's just what it is. That's not what I'm worried about. The game just honks when you've got the best sport for an all-star game. Like, NFL football is going to be terrible. Baseball should be actually good as well. Hockey, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to play like a pickup game and have it matter. Now, the times that the All-Star game has actually mattered, when they changed the rules a little bit and they made that fourth quarter where it wasn't about time but about score, that was competitive. Realistically, if you look at the 2000s, it was competitive. That's just because Kobe Bryant is vicious and wanted to win, and he's a hell of a competitor. So he went after people, and it just became about their pride, where then they'd had to try, but then they weren't trying at the beginning, and then they just looked like tools in front of them. And that was fun to watch for a bit. But realistically, if you look at, Joker and Luka, that's what they're going to do. And the problem is, can we really blame the players? If they get hurt in an all-star game, people are going to blame him and say they're being reckless and careless. And if you're going in traffic, you don't want tough defense in a team game. So that's just what you're going to get. The thing that frustrates me is NBA always looks outside of their regular model. And I don't know if I'm taking crazy pills, but isn't the answer just glaringly obvious? Like, basketball is one of those sports, as a coach, you can literally take any number of people and put them against any number of people, and it works. So why are you sticking with 5-on-5? You could have fun and do 3-on-3 tourney or something like that. What I would do, and I don't even think this is close, this would be by far my solution. Take it if you want it. Well, don't take it. Pay me, NBA, if you use this one. Do it like a Ryder Cup situation. So you got the East versus the West. Cool. The skills competitions, you all get points, right? So if the 3-point shooter, you get whatever. But it comes down to, on Sunday, it's a series of one-on-ones, right? And you do the either, ones and twos, winners out, play to 7 or play to 11, whatever you want to do. Have them be just quick. Each player only plays once. It's not a tournament. You win, and your side, East or West, get a point. That's it. But then that draft that they used to do, remember back, it was like the Team LeBron and Team Giannis, and they were going to draft their own people. Have that. Have an East and West captain. And you get first pick means you pick first matchup. So if you're like Giannis and you either want to take someone who you feel you've got a massive competitive edge, maybe you take the last guy on the squad, or you say screw it and be like, you know what, Giannis, I'm Giannis. Give me Joker, 1-on-1 up to 11. Let's see who wins, right? So you get to pick your matchups favorably. Do you want to take them, hard on hard? Do you want to try and mix up? Do you want your post to go against post? So you get to pick 1 versus 1, and then, Team LeBron would go, and he would let's be honest, LeBron would take the weakest guy. Sorry, Shay, but come on. He's not challenging anyone hard. And you think about it, they play for what, 10 or 15 minutes? Now, granted, you might get hurt. You might get hurt when you do anything like this, and it's just like a hard practice, but you're less likely to land on at least something random. So if you land on someone, it's because you're trying to dunk over them, which that would be fun to watch. So even if you got kind of hurt, that would suck, but not horribly. It's a much more controlled, and you only play 10, 15 minutes, and then that's it. And then you get to do all the stuff on the sidelines, like, go crazy and cheer for your teammates and, post on socials as they want to. So it actually would turn out to be a couple hours, maybe an hour, hour and a half total. Throw in maybe a few other different events. The skills competition could be all right. And then you put some kind of incentive. It doesn't have to be the cash incentive, but something maybe goes towards charity if you want to actually be good about it, because then they look like donkeys if they don't try. But then you don't have to sit through and pretend that the game actually cares. We don't care. It could be. If you did it super competitive, maybe after the season, it would be the best pickup game in the world, and I think we all know it has that potential, but it's not going to be, right? You're not going to always have that hella competitive person. So instead, you're just going to get kind of a fart in the wind where defense doesn't really matter, and it sucks. So think outside the box. You already know the All-Star game stinks. Now address it. Well, that's it for the post-All-Star game wrap-up. Now, I hate promising things because then I don't do them and I look ridiculous, but whatever. We all know what month we're about to get into, and we know what that means for me. All of you have participated, and I expect to participate in what I have going in March. You also know that I've been making a lot more videos this year, and I've been spending my time, I think wisely. So long story short, as soon as tip-off happens, or as soon as Selection Show Sunday happens, I'm going to be pretty busy. So I'm going to be doing my best, and I think I got this one. I'll probably do a video just before. So as soon as the February players of the month pop up, I'll take care of it. We'll do a quick video. I'll get it out, and then likely I'm not going to touch it again until after the madness, because it's one beast at a time. So hopefully this helps, puts in framework of what we're looking at. NBA is going to be super exciting down the stretch. You can already tell some teams are starting to care, some aren't. If you haven't had a chance to watch as much, please do so, or just keep stat tracking or watch these and I'll do it for you. Either way, take care, folks. I'll see you soon.